to the Beautiful BAME, a new series brought to you by Pythagoras in Boots, where we celebrate and interview some of the leading individuals from an ethnic minority background in the professional world of football. Today, I'm joined by the amazing, incredibly talented, and arguably the world's leading football cartoonist, Omar Momani. Omar, it's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
Omar, so you must feel a huge sense of pride being one of the only Muslim content creators in the world of football. There's not many out there, is there? And why do you think that is?
Well, I can name some names. There's Zizo Cartoons. There's Hamid is from Iran. Well, the thing is, even in the in the Western world, sport cartoonist is not something very required. From a man from a Muslim country to reach the international level would be harder.
Of course.
So when someone from the Western civilization, it's hard for him to get a job as a football cartoonist or sport cartoonist. So it would be, I think it's because still the demand is low. When I started to draw for goal.com, many of the journalists there, they were, saying, do we need a cartoonist for a sport website? And after the break of, we saw the outbreak of memes in sports and everything. The cartoons were considered a part of memes. Right now we are seeing different sport mediums are requiring artists to help with the social media. Now it started to become an essential thing for the sports mediums. And so I think in the near future, we will hear a lot of names from people from the Middle East or from the Islamic world to reach the international level.
One thing I read about you, Omar, was that when you were younger, you had a lot of backlash from your school teachers, who, whenever you were drawing cartoons, they were arguing it was sacrilegious. It's haram. But your father intervened. He was very influential in sort of encouraging you to continue with your art and persevere. How important were his words? And do you think a lot of Muslim artists are sort of put off by that cultural conservatism? And is that attitude beginning to change?
Well, I just received I received yesterday a message from someone that told me to stop drawing because it's haram. Well, regarding religion, there's always misunderstandings, or there's a lot of different views about the religion itself. Some people may say it's this thing is allowed or not allowed. And my father always used to tell me, think about things more than to take it, from someone else, like the teachers. My teachers, not all of them, they hated cartoons because, it's forbidden in religion. Maybe the ones who used to teach religion itself, because most of them, they tried to prove something, maybe.
Yeah.
Something personal, because they want to control you, or they want to
impose their reading.
To impose. Yes.
Over you, sort of thing. Instead of, I think what your father was trying to get at was, with Islam, it gets a bad name because certain clerics impose their opinions rather than allowing people to just read the book and interpret it for what it is. And you get a lot of you get hadith, but you get lots of other interpretations coming into play, and it becomes this whole list of rules where you can do something and you can't do something, and it takes away from the heart of what the religion's actually about. So I think that's
that's true.
He's trying to get at.
Well, I can say that drawing is not hurting someone. You can hurt it if you draw something like, let's say, it's like a tool, like the internet, like everything, like the cars, like the TV. You can drive the car and hit people, or you can drive it just to take yourself from place to another. So it depends on how to use the tool, So
Absolutely, the purpose.
yes, so I think regarding religion, when they say it's forbidden, I think it's because back then some people used to worship stones or statues or whatever. So, but things are very different right now. Nobody is worshiping a stone or something like that. So I think we need to change uh, uh, to change how we think about things.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think a slight liberal mindset is quite important, especially when you're doing the type of art that you're doing, which does involve faces, involves characters, involves people, and you're being very creative with it, and it's so you need that bit of license to be able to do things like that. So moving away from that, let's talk about your love affair with football. It's what you're famous about, drawing about football cartoons. But the question I
Yeah.
want to put to you is, when did your love affair with football begin? And also, did you like any other sports as well?
Well, it started back in the 80s. I remember that Maradona was the biggest thing in the world back then. There was, Maradona. You see it everywhere in the restaurants and T-shirts. Even and I used to ask my parents, "Who's this man?" They told me, "He's Maradona. He's the greatest footballer in the world." So I started to know football from Maradona, and in the World Cup 1990, it was the first tournament I ever watched. Uh, I remember that it shocked me to see Maradona losing the final, because he is Maradona, he can't lose. And that, you know, teach me a lot of things that everybody lose sometimes and nobody can win, you know. So back then, from then, I started to follow football, and I started to support AC Milan because I saw Milan beating Napoli, and Maradona used to play in Napoli. So someone who beat Maradona, of course, he is the best. So he's now the best. So I started to follow Milan. Uh, in the 90s, I used to watch a lot of sports, not just football. I used to watch NBA, Formula One, tennis, and
So you're like me then. You love a lot of sports.
I didn't continue watching them. I stopped watching them maybe in 1990,
Yeah.
1999. And when I just used to watch Milan games. And in the 2010 World Cup, I thought about drawing the events of the World Cup and incidents. So from back then, I started to rewatch football more and more. It was just only Milan, but from 2010, yeah, I started to watch uh, more about more European footballs like Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, and so on.
Well, you made a good choice picking Milan at the start of the 90s because they went on to become arguably the most successful European team sort of up to that period until Barcelona's recent phase. Was there a particular AC Milan player who was your favorite during that era?
Yeah, I started with Rod Gullit. I used to, see him. I see, he had this dreadlocks and very long hair and mustache, and I said to myself, "Oh, he looks very weird." So I started to draw him.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to like Rod Gullit and Carlos Valderrama because they have, a unique features. So I, yeah, I used to like Rod Gullit, and later on I started to like other players like Maldini, Albertini, Boban, and so on. George
Yeah.
Weah. Yeah.
Milan's got a whole host of cool players. Did you ever think about becoming a player? Was that ever a dream of yours while you were a young kid, or were you straight away you knew this is not a realistic road for me to
Mm.
take? Um, and even then, did you ever still continue to play the game? Do you still find time to play now? What position did you play?
Well, in the 90s, yes, I used to play in the neighborhoods. Also, my parents they put me in a small club in Jordan to teach me football. But I think I was still now I'm not skillful. I'm very bad player. So yeah, maybe the last time I played football, maybe it was in 2013, something like that.
So
And
fair
uh,
while back.
I stopped playing it because I saw a lot of injuries,
Hmm.
and as they were injured because of that of playing roughly. And I told myself, it's not for you. You need to be, healthy and so on. Right now, I only play badminton.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt you, and it keeps your shape good. But when I was kid, I used to like to play, in the midfield because people won't blame you if you don't score goals.
But
So
at the
it's
same time, you get to be at the heart of everything. Get to enjoy a
yeah,
bit of defending and attacking now and then as well. You touched upon Maradona was probably your first idol, I would say, in football, and his death must have hit you really hard this year. Am I right to
yeah.
assume that? Obviously, I've seen your pictures on Maradona, and I remember them coming up on my feed, and I just remember thinking, "Wow, these pictures really capture the emotion of Maradona's death. Yes, they're cartoons, but they really signify his godlike status in football." And yeah, just how did that death hit you?
Well, for me, Maradona is the symbol of the game. When I hear the word football, I remember Maradona because I discovered football from Maradona. So for me, his death is like this world of football is, uh, face the end. It's like, the end of the world.
Hmm.
And because Maradona is attached to my childhood. So when seeing him, you know, dead, this means that something from your childhood is dead now, right now. So, uh, you know, it touched me so big because, you know, I started to remember the old days, how I discovered the game. The shock when he lost the final with Germany
Hmm. Yeah.
and all his adventures and his problems. I started to remember them, and seeing him dying, was a really shock. But I remember that my parents told me when I was young that because he used to take a lot of drugs and so on, that expect him to die anytime. So it was not. I was always, expecting him to die at any moment.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I think with Maradona, he what he represented to me was that he was almost like an ethnic minority, even though he was Argentinian in terms of his rebel like status, the way he came
yeah,
from rags to riches, and he always just had this aura of being against the establishment. Everyone hates me. I'm the minority, but I'm going to prove you all wrong. And there was just something about him. I could imagine him being Arab. I could imagine him being Pakistani. He had that character
yes,
to him.
yes.
And I think that's why a lot of us ethnic minorities we love Maradona. He's a hero across the world because of that reason. He transcends culture.
And
For me.
he standed with the third world countries. He
Oh yeah,
always,
the Palestine, the words on
yeah.
Palestine as well. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Um, okay, so we move on from Maradona. You've obviously been influenced by many cartoon animators. Which cartoonist would you say was your absolute top inspiration? Um, and would you rate him as the greatest cartoonist of all time, or is there a number of cartoonists that you can't pick between?
I think my favorite cartoonist is Albert Uderzo. He's French, and he's the one who created Asterix.
I used to love Asterix as a as a
Yeah,
kid. Yeah, yeah, no,
for
it's
me, my inspiration came from Albert Uderzo and the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like Flintstones and Jetsons.
yeah.
So
I can
I
definitely
try
see
to
that.
mix between these worlds, between the Hanna-Barbera and Albert Uderzo Asterix. I don't think there's someone we can call him the greatest cartoonist ever. It's something, I favor this one because I like his style, I like his stories. So I think we can't, decide who is the best because, you know, people have different tastes and different opinions. But I enjoy Alberto Derzo, and I also enjoy, Mad Magazine.
Mhm.
Uh, when I
Just
used to,
sorry, I was just going to ask, what is it about those artists that appeal to you? What things are you looking for in terms of their attributes, in terms of their cartoons?
I like the style, of course, the exaggerations. In the Asterix comics, many of celebrities came to the in the books, like Sean Connery, like uh, his name, Kirk Douglas,
Oh
as
yeah.
he was in one of the books. So I like the way he characterized people, and also I like Asterix in every book in Asterix he with Obelix they move from country to country and they discover new cultures and new civilizations. And with Asterix you learn a lot. You know, I remember they went to Egypt, they went to France, they went to Britain, they went to India, they went to Greece, they went everywhere. So I like this thing with Asterix that you learn beside, have humor and enjoy the story.
So you're
And
learning about different cultures as well while you're just
yes,
reading, staying at home.
yes, the same thing goes with football. You know, with football we discovered a lot of countries. I
Mm.
that I watched the film about Pele in Netflix 1 month ago, and they say that in the movie that people didn't know a lot about Brazil, but after discovering Pelé and so on, they discovered the culture of Brazil and they started to want they wanted to learn more about the country. So I think Asterix and football they make you learn about other civilizations, countries, and you started to you know to learn about flags, about players. This player is from, let's say, France. This player is from Nigeria. This player from Argentina. I remember that one of my friend's parents, they told me when I was a kid, how did you know about Argentina and these countries? I told them from football because I watch football a lot. So I think this thing, that many people they don't notice it that football they make the world smaller and people started to know about different cultures and civilizations.
Yeah, so it's like a global language. Everyone knows football. You can find
Yeah,
it in every corner of the globe, and I
I'm
think
also a big fan. I also read a lot about history and mythologies, so I think with Asterix and even the football. When I watch a match in the World Cup, for example,
Mhm.
that between France and Italy, I see it like it's between the Romans and the Gauls. So I remember Asterix and I remember how he used to fight the Romans. So yeah, I see very similarities between these words.
I guess just touching upon that knowledge of mythology will definitely help you in the creative process. Now, we're going to touch upon that later in the interview, but I can definitely see how being very historical, you're able to give context to things which other people who might not be aware of that particular context. So that will definitely help in your creative process. And I was just going to say, with the Pele film, which I watched as well, it's quite interesting when he spoke about coming to Sweden in 1958 for the first time, and all these Swedish girls were just sort of staring at him and coming over to him to touch him because they'd never seen a black person before. So
Yeah,
again, just showcases how football can really break down those barriers where their perception of an ethnic minority was someone at the bottom of their shoe. But because of the football world, that guy can be king of the world. Hence why Pele was named Ore. So he was the king of the footballing world, regardless of his color. And we also saw, I don't know if you saw that David Beckham documentary where he tours around the 7 continents as well. And he finds football in every single continent. And he just plays with random people from different cultures. But again, that documentary is really good in just highlighting how football is a truly universal language. I just wanted to ask, are you into anime and manga at all? Is that any of any interest to you in terms of style? Is that very, very different to what you like?
manga.
Yeah.
I like classic mangas like Osamu Tezuka.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the master and my favorite. I don't like the new styles. I think they are trying to be more realistic, and as a cartoonist, I like to see exaggerations in styles. So if I want to read manga, I go to the classic ones, especially Tezuka. I'm a very, very big fan of Tezuka's animations and mangas because he is a real cartoonist. It's not about to see just a comic book. No, I prefer I prefer some styles, the styles that they are exaggerating in the actions or in drawings the characters.
When did you first pick up a pencil or a crayon? How old were you? And what subjects were your first sort of drawings on?
Uh, I don't remember. I always remember myself drawing. So I think my parents used to bring me comic books, and I used to put a paper on the top of the comic cover and start to trace it.
Trace it.
Yeah, and after that, I discovered that I can draw it by my own. So after that, I also started to try to draw cartoons on papers like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Popeye. So I always remember myself drawing, but uh, in
Would you would
yeah,
you say you were very gifted from a young age, or do you think it was just a case of practice makes perfect?
well, well, you need to practice every day. If you don't practice, you will never, be skillful. But first of all, you need to be passionate about it. And I was passionate about it since childhood because I used to love cartoons. And when I discovered how to draw these characters, the passion became bigger. So you need to be passionate and plus to practice every day. I don't believe about having this gift, uh, this gift alone uh, because myself I see it, yes, because I draw every day. I see myself improving day by day, and I read a lot about how to draw stuff. I see a lot of tutorials, a lot of I read a lot of uh, you know I read a lot of books that teach about drawings and cartoons. So you need to practice it every day, and you will never reach the top level. If you think that you have reached it, know that you have failed because every day you learn new technique and new skills about this world. drawing. So yeah,
So you need to be a student of your profession, even
yes.
even in the artistic world, especially if not more so. Especially with, I think, with digital art as well. Seems to have opened up avenues to professionalism for a lot of artists. So it's almost like if you're good at digital art, you can literally upload your work and show the world from the very beginning. So it increases that level of competition. So I guess if you rest on your laurels, you're going to be yesterday's news. Um, I guess the other question I wanted to ask was from a classical art point of view.
Mhm.
Um, have you ever engaged in classical art? And if so, do you have any favorite artists in that regard? What's your thoughts on that side of art?
Classical art, like the Renaissance and so on.
Yeah, like for example, Leonardo da Vinci or Van Gogh
Yeah.
and artists like that.
Yes. I don't like modern art.
Yeah, no, I don't like
I
it
don't like
either.
it at all. As for I like there's an my favorite artist is David. Is the one who used to draw Napoleon.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Because also, as I told you, I love mythologies and history. So David used to draw a lot about the Greek mythologies, the Roman mythologies. So I like the new classical movement. I like also the Romanticism. Uh, Many of the Russian painters, they are great. Of course, the Renaissance is important, but as I told you, modern art is not for me. I don't like also uh, what else? The surreal art, even it's not my school. I like
So,
the
for
new.
example, Picasso or Salvador Dali, they're not your type of artist.
No, no, no. Well, I see Picasso as a very great artist. I like his, when he started to draw in his blue period and the red period. I like these. I like these periods. But when he started to draw cubism and so on, it's not my
Yeah.
taste.
I honestly think you're very similar to me in artistic taste. I completely agree with all of that. Okay, so moving away from how you became an artist, um, we were looking at your career, doing a bit of research, and we saw that obviously you did a computer science degree. Um, you dropped it in the middle of it. You came back and completed it. Um, how did you find this whole academic experience? Is it restrictive for a creative person like you? Do you find it difficult? But was there any benefits you got from that experience as well?
Uh, Before going to the university, I thought about I want to create video games. So I want to learn programming and I want to learn drawing at the same time. So I bought a lot of art books and started to learn from them. And in the university, I started to learn programming. But you can, it was very hard for me to learn the two things at the same time. I used to focus more on the art side, and I hardly graduated from the university. And I decided to continue in art. Uh, in computer science, you need to, your university degree is not enough for you to find work. You need to find, you need to study a particular language. You know,
Mhm.
you can work in it, and it could cost you a lot. And I didn't want, this struggle. And I said to myself, no, let's find a job in animation. And I was practicing animation. I took an animation, small animation class in the university, and this class was for me the best class. It was about flash animation, and
Mm.
from I started to practice, to animate some characters and so on. And when I graduated, I started only to search for animation jobs. and I was lucky to find one. And from then, my journey with cartoon animation started.
Just on that first job, how did you come about it? What was it? And then can you describe the journey from that job to say
Mhm.
working for the Bundesliga, and how that journey happened?
Okay, the first journey it was with a famous Jordanian cartoonist. His name is Imad Hajjaj. Uh, he had a studio, and his company wanted an animator to animate his editorial cartoons to sell it for phone companies, like an MMS.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, the MMS. And from then, I started to I wanted to be better in animation. I moved from studio to studio. I worked in many studios in the UAE and produced a lot of Arabic cartoons. They were successful cartoons in the Middle East, but it was very tiring and exhausting. I remember that me and the team we didn't sleep. We used to work like 24 hours, and with less appreciation. I remember to see that everyone used to appreciate the creator of the series, not the staff. While we
mm,
used 24 hours. So I said to myself, no, I have to maybe to change the career a bit to be a creator rather than to execute art. So in 2010, I started to draw cartoons about any topic comes to my mind, you know. And it was the 2010 World Cup, and I remember I drew about Diego Maradona. He was, the manager of Argentina, and my friend asked me, "Yeah, you should draw about Maradona, draw about Spain, draw about the games," and they appreciate it a lot, especially on Facebook. So after the World Cup, I saw that I have a small portfolio, and I thought maybe I can apply for newspapers and told them that I can draw, like editorial cartoons, but rather than politics, and so I can draw about sports. In Jordan, they didn't found the idea is good for themselves, so they told me no, we only want you to draw about politics. So I thought the chance maybe I can send goal, yeah. So I sent an email to Goal that I'm a cartoonist and I draw about football. Maybe you can, share my cartoons. And they replied. I sent to the Arabic edition of Goal, and they told me yes, we want you, and let's start together. And from that date, you know, it started my career with sport cartoons. And later on, I started to work with different websites and mediums like Bundesliga, like the International Champions Cup, and so on.
so you've sort of spoken about how you made that move to goal.com. Now you've become really obviously famous based on this particular art style you've come up with. Um,
Mhm.
does it become frustrating in terms of this is my style now? I can't deviate from it because then people won't know it's my drawing. Or do you love the fact of that you've created the signature style and you just love working within that particular style?
Mhm. Well, I don't see myself. It's not. I didn't create that style. It's if you're a cartoonist and you studied my cartoons, you will see that it's a mix between Hanna-Barbera and Alberto Derzo. Uh, you know, in the recent years, I started to study more about the French and Belgian comics more than the American ones. And I don't think myself I have reached the level to be with Alberto Derzo. There's a lot of gap between me and him. So I see myself still learning from this school, and every cartoon I draw for me is like like a homework.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I still enjoy it. I also draw for educational websites, and these websites, they don't want this funny humor style. They want something more realistic. But I don't show these on my social media, because on my social media I want to share stuff about sports.
Sure.
So that's why some people think that I only draw this style. But no, I can draw different styles. But this is my favorite style.
Of course, but at least you're using other avenues to experiment and draw in different styles. It's just you're not showing us based on your social media, so you are having that chance to sort of
But I'm
enjoy
more
yourself.
comfortable with this style.
Of course, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get that. In terms of obviously, I'm sure there's lots of animators potentially watching this, aspiring animators as well. What type of software and hardware do you use to create your drawings? I'm assuming you're predominantly a digital artist.
Yeah.
Are you using things like Procreate, for example, to digitally draw, and then Photoshop to do edits? What's your process, generally speaking?
Yeah. For cartoons, I use only Photoshop. Only Photoshop. I started to draw on papers, then scan them, and later on I uh, on Photoshop. But later on, I start only to draw on Photoshop. As for animation, I use Adobe Animate. It used to call it was Flash, but now it's called Animate. And I use a bit Adobe After Effects. So you can say these three softwares: Photoshop, Animate, and After Effects. I use a regular computer, and I have a Wacom tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Tablet, it's like I have a digital pen and draw on tablet. I don't like to draw on screen, so because my hand, so I like to draw on tablet, so to see everything on screen without seeing my hand.
Yeah.
So
No, that's pretty cool. How long does it take from start to finish, including the social media aspect, to put out a piece of work?
well, first I have to find an idea, and when I have at the end of the day, I have a couple of ideas. I share them with my chief, with my the editor, the editors in goal, or on Bundesliga. I told them my ideas for today is one or two. They told me we like idea number one, and they give me uh, you know they can give me their tips or advices. Yeah, why don't you put for example, this player on this cartoon? Okay, we prefer you to draw about this topic more than this. After discussion, I have the idea, and I started to draw it. The drawing process takes from 2 to 3 hours. If it's animation, it takes maybe 4 to 5 hours. Animation, when I say animation, it's about 10 to 15 seconds only. If it's 1 minute, it needs around a week of working. So after drawing it, I send it to the network, and they say if it's appropriate to be shared on social media. If it's okay, then yeah, we started to publish it. I try to publish it everywhere, and on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, YouTube, everywhere, because Some people they like Facebook, some people like Twitter, some people like Instagram. So I try to be everywhere, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think one thing you've touched upon there is even when you're producing something which is 1 minute long, it takes you a week to do it. And I think for most content creators, they can resonate with that because, when I make football analysis videos, it looks like, oh, he's maybe taken a day or something, but sometimes it's taking me 2 weeks. Sometimes I'm having to think through the idea. I'm visualizing it in my head. I'm trying to connect all the dots together, how it's going to flow together. And I imagine it's even more important for someone in your profession where everything is about the aesthetics, everything's about the beauty and how it flows from the start to the finish in terms of a full idea. So there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes, which people don't see. Um, I was going to ask, obviously, in terms of the process, in terms of coming up with the idea in the first place, you must be you must be watching matches sometimes whilst you're trying to think of ideas, especially some of the stuff which is very um,
Mhm.
commentary on the match. Is it hard to take in actual matches because your mind's constantly on, oh, my next art piece needs to be on this particular match, or can you literally relax and watch matches comfortably, or is it a stressful process sometimes?
well, no. Watching match is something to enjoy it. When I watch match, I don't think about the cartoon or about what can I produce for tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I see all the news and I try to watch all the highlights. And from then, I can imagine what is the biggest news of the day. Uh, there's no need to watch all the matches, of course. It's impossible. I only watch, yeah, the most important game of the day. So after watching these games, I look into the social media. I look into the news, and I try to see what is the biggest thing that happened. You know, mostly news about Messi or Ronaldo. It's the biggest things.
Hmm.
In goal, we try to focus more into the Premier League and the Champions League. So the Premier League matches are more important than, for example, Serie A or Bundesliga. So
Just on Messi and Ronaldo. I'm not sure if you're if you're allowed to pick sides, but who would you say is the greater player?
well, I enjoy seeing Messi, but I think that Ronaldo is a leader and Messi is not a leader. If I want to just to enjoy watching football, I go to watch Messi. But you know, uh, a leader, you know, when you talk about a leader won't accept a lose like this lose against Bayern.
Mm.
And I saw when Ronaldo he was injured in the final in the Euro finals. He stood beside the manager and started to manage and to shout on the Portuguese until they won the game. So I think if I want to pick a leader, I would pick Cristiano Ronaldo. But if I want to enjoy a show, I would go with Messi. But for me, the best player I've ever seen is Zinedine Zidane. He's my he's the best footballer ever. My favorite player is Roberto Baggio, and the symbol of the game is Diego Maradona. That's it.
Wow, that's a great list of footballers. I'm quite surprised you picked Zidane as your best of all time. Um, I think in the modern era, a lot of people don't rate him as highly as they should, which shocks me because I agree with you. I wouldn't have him as my personal best, but I do think he's one of the top 10 footballers of all time because one, he won every trophy. Two, his mentality in the big games was insane. He was almost perfect in terms of fearless on the big stage, and technically gifted despite his lack of pace, just dominated games. So yeah, I definitely can see why you've put him up there. probably wouldn't
He,
make it
he
into
can
the.
score, he can assist, he can do everything, and you
Yeah,
enjoy watching him. Beside that, you can say that um, when you say who's the best player in the world, let's say we can pick, any poor team, and if you want to pick just one player to help this poor team to achieve things, who would be that player? So for me, Messi won't help them. Even Cristiano,
no.
Zidane can make a difference.
Yeah, I think Zidane, he proved in World Cup 2006 where the French team was woefully out of form. They were struggling against the likes of Switzerland, and then Zidane single-handedly carried that team to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
And in that regard, that's quite reminiscent of Maradona, because Maradona was able to do the same thing for Argentina. So yeah, Zidane definitely falls into that category of player. He can definitely lift a team. I guess in terms of my all-time players, I would probably put, for example, um, Pelé, Maradona above guys like Zidane. But in terms of the modern era, he's definitely right up there.
I've
Um,
never seen Pelé, so I can't say about him, because I've never watched a game for him.
there's enough footage out there on Pele, and I did a research project where I compared all the attackers in the game and who was the most complete. And you looked at his left foot. His left foot alone was better than most professional players' right foot, and he was hitting
Mhm.
40-yard shots with his left foot. And you watch the modern game, and the only players I can think of that two-footed, Cristiano sometimes takes shots with his weaker foot, but not the same way Pele was doing. His was
Mm.
incredibly accurate. And then you look at the way he was doing bicycle kicks in the box. The ball would come to him, he'd chest it, flick it over a centre back, and then volley it. And he didn't just do it once, he did it again and again and again. So that goal he scores in the 1958 World Cup final, he does repeated amount of times. So when I look at a player like that from just a pure technical, athletic point of view, I just think, wow, he is incredibly gifted footballer. And then when you think about the fact that, let's just say Zidane technically is on the same level, Pele then has the the athleticism. He's fitness wise, arguably one of the fittest footballers of all time as well. So he's got that advantage going for him as well. So that's why for me, overall package, I'd say Pele's a better player than Zidane. But yeah, we're digressing into football into football debate here, and we're going to try and focus on you. Um, I wanted to ask you, because you picked out that difference between Messi and Ronaldo. I guess in your role in terms of doing caricatures on people, your ability to psychoanalyze people must be really, really high. So you must be a really great psychologist. Do you think that's quite important in your line of work?
Well, yeah, I don't consider myself an expert in that, but I can say that, when you tell a story in a cartoon, you have to give, you know, the characters a personality. I see Messi a shy person, and I see him very shy and modest, and Ronaldo is a bit, arrogant, and he sees himself as the best, and so on. So when I draw about Messi, I can't say that he is arrogant because he doesn't show it on the social media. He's just, we see him just shy, and he don't speak a lot, not like Cristiano Ronaldo. And Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe he is a very kind person. I don't know, but when I read his comments and his or see his interviews, he give you the impression that he is arrogant. Same way goes with Jose Mourinho. You know, I read a lot about Mourinho that he is, he do a lot of charities. He helps a lot of people. He's a very kind person. But in the football world, he's different. He talks like an arrogant. He says a lot of bad things toward other managers like Wenger and so on. So when I draw about Mourinho, I draw the Mourinho in football, not the Mourinho in person. And we know how Mourinho speaks and talks, so that reflects on the cartoon. So yes, when I say that Mourinho, or Ronaldo, they are arrogant, it's just in the football world, not in the outside world. Because I respect Jose Mourinho a lot. I read that he helped a lot of people during the crisis, the COVID crisis, and so on. I also read that he went to Africa to help people there, and I respect it very much. And you can see that players, how his players, respects him, especially in Inter Milan and in Chelsea, first term, not the second term.
Yeah, we'll
So
stick
yes,
to the
yeah. So yeah, I when I say something about the player, it's just the player and the football world, not outside it. So yeah.
so not just so we've discussed psychology. One thing I was interested about in school, were you seen as one of the funniest kids in the class, like a class clown? Because sense of humor must be very important as well when you're creating these cartoons, because obviously we all see your cartoons and we laugh out loud, we find it funny. So I was just wondering whether when you were drawing all those pictures at school, did you know I'm one of the funniest kids in school? Did did for example the girls find you hilarious, sort of thing? How did that work?
Well, I remember that when I started to draw, everyone, girls, and they wanted to see me drawing, and they told me, draw this teacher, draw that teacher, please.
No
So
wonder the
yeah,
teachers didn't want you to draw.
they went angry. Yeah, very angry and furious. Yeah, I think that drawing, gave me a lot of popularity in the school and in the university, and it gave me an identity. Yeah, this is the person who draws the teachers or who draws people. And I remember that every day, I meet people. They ask me, please draw me or draw me a sketch, please. So yeah, drawing gave me an identity and gave me popularity all the time since childhood. Yes.
In terms of where are you working at the moment? Have you moved away from Jordan, or is that your predominant base of residence? So where do you do most of your work and live?
Right now I'm in Jordan, but before COVID, I used to go for some weeks from to work from different countries. Depends on the project, on a project or something. But yeah, my home is Jordan, and yeah, I'm staying here.
Um, and looking at where you were in terms of your skills, did you foresee this kind of progress, say 10 years ago? And what do you think? How will your skills progress, say 5 years from now?
Uh, well, actually, I was, very excited and very enthusiastic, very excited to work in this field because I was very fond of Mad Magazine, and I said to myself, Mad Magazine, they used to have satires about movies, and I said to myself, why don't they do something about football? This will win for sure. So nobody was creating that. So when I started to draw about football, I said, yes, people will love it from all around the world because Man Magazine is famous for drawing, celebrities in movies. Why don't I do it the same, but celebrities in sports or in football? But I did not, didn't expect to work with people like the Bundesliga or with. I will work soon with a big network. I will start to draw about different sports, but I will not say who are they until things confirmed.
Mhm.
I'm not. I was expecting, but I'm also very happy and very you can say uh, it's like expecting things to happen, but you are seeing them to happen,
Great.
and you
You're still
see,
grateful. You're still grateful
yeah,
for
grateful,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
grateful. When I see my cartoons 5 years ago and so on, I think to myself, how the hell did they hire this person? The drawings are very weak.
I know that feeling. I mean, obviously, I'm nowhere near as experienced as you in terms of my journey as to where I want to get to. But when I watch my first YouTube videos, I cringe. I just think, this is so bad. You've done so many. You've done thousands and thousands of posts. So I can imagine going from the very beginning, you must see such a big level of evolution. Although I must admit, I tried to scroll to your top of your Instagram page, which is incredibly long, but the quality was pretty strong even from the very first few pictures. I think. So yeah, you touched upon movies, and I know you're a big film buff, and you've mentioned in a previous interview that winning an Oscar would be
Mm.
a dream of yours. How do you envisage that happening? What type of project do you foresee being involved with that would take you to such a dream like that?
Well, as I told you, I have started my career as an animator, and every year they announce an Oscar for the best short or for the best feature in animation. And as an animator, I always, dreamed about reaching this level. I know it's very hard and it needs a lot of work, but the dream is still with me, and I hope that I will reach it one day. I always think about what is the best story to tell to win an award or to reach that level. So I think I'm still trying to learn about this thing. I'm still watching a lot of shorts and animation movies to understand what makes the film, unique and good. So I try to I still think that I need a lot of learning and practice to reach that level. So I think it's still a dream. I also dream about creating graphic novels and or comic books.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm currently working on a comic book about football, and I hope when I finish part of it, I will find a publisher and so on.
I'm
Uh,
sure you will. I'm sure
my
you will.
dreams, yeah. Uh, but yes, away from football, I dream of doing a movie and to win an Oscar or something, or even just to reach that level. No need to win.
Well, I pray for you that happens.
Thank
And
you.
personally, based on your growth so far, I don't dispute that it can happen with your level of talent. So something to watch out for Omar Momani fans out there. Um, you said 5 to 6 years ago, I think it was, that you had aspirations to build a family. Obviously, we spoke briefly before we went on this call about your daughter. Um, what's it like having a family? How has that changed your life and your outlook? Has it affected your art in any way as well?
Well, having family, it means stability. It means I feel strength, more strength. Because there are some people who cares about you. You have people that they gives you love and they give you passion. And you know, having a family have we can say advantages and disadvantages. Advantages that, as I said, it gives you love, it gives you power, it gives you more reasons to succeed in life. Maybe disadvantages that you have not enough time to practice or
I know that feeling.
yeah. But when I see my daughter, I always feel in love and and grateful and say this is the best thing that happened to me, and I don't care about other stuff if I failed or not. I have my beautiful daughter, and that's the most important thing in my life.
I'm in the same boat. Although I've got two daughters, so it's becoming hard to split that love between them. It becomes so difficult. You have to love them both equally. It's so hard because your whole world
Yeah,
revolves around one, and then
yeah,
another one comes as well. So it's wow. But I agree with you. Children are the most beautiful thing in the world.
they just
Last
take your
question.
time. Yeah,
Yes, I was going to say last question. Thank you so much, by the way, for putting all this time in with us. What
my pleasure.
pieces of advice would you give to those who come from a similar background from yourself, and aspire to become sports related content creators? What would be your top tips?
Well, first of all, as I mentioned before, keep practicing. Never think that you have reached the top level. Keep on learning until you die. This is the most important thing. Learn a lot about internet, understand social media. Try to, in social media right now, you can to reach anyone in the world. You can work from Jordan and work for people in China, from America, from Brazil, and so on. So yeah, be good in using the internet and think globally. Many people, I see people from Jordan. They still think locally. When you think globally and internationally, you have to see uh, you know what the majority of the world think. All the world, they watch, for example, Star Wars. Then you have to watch Star Wars to understand the culture, the global culture. Uh, People and the people outside Jordan, they don't care about the politics, what that happens in Jordan. So if you want to reach the international level, you have to think internationally, globally. Try to read a lot of books. Try to understand how other cultures think and and try to build a bridge between you and the other cultures. Not to when we had the internet. I, I think the internet is a blessing, and we should be grateful to have it. It made the world like a small village. So yes, practice every day, learn the internet, and think globally. You know.
Thank you. That's really great advice for any young content creator sort of watching this, wanting to learn from the best. Omar, thank you so much for joining us and giving us so much of your time.
My
It's been
pleasure.
a real pleasure chatting to you, learning more about you as a person, not just about your work. Um, and I guess it just goes to prove anyone from any background can make it to the top. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the beautiful BAME. We've got more episodes coming with other sort of significant members from ethnic minorities in the world of football. I won't spoil it for you in terms of which names, but please do support us, subscribe, comment below any questions you have with Omar. I'll try and pass them on to Omar and get them answered for you. And yeah, take care, guys. See you guys again next time. Bye.